Tonight, we're going to explore something dark, ancient, and painfully modern. The story of cartels, not just as criminal empires, but as a reflection of us. Because this isn't only about Mexico, it's about humanity and what happens when greed replaces purpose. Let's begin with a sound. That eerie, hollow scream of the Aztec death whistle. It was said to mimic a human cry. Warriors used it before battle to paralyze their enemies with fear. When the Spanish arrived in 1519, Hernan Cortés found an empire ruled by awe and terror. The Aztecs ruled through ritual, mass sacrifice, public fear, and astonishing sophistication. The city of Tenochtitlan, that's modern Mexico City, was a marvel of its time. 200,000 people, canals wider than Venice, floating gardens, even sanitation. But its center was built on blood. Skull racks, called Zopententil, held thousands of human heads. Chroniclers wrote that in 1487, 80,000 people were sacrificed to dedicate a new pyramid. Probably exaggerated, but still, the reality was horrific. Hearts cut from living bodies, blood offered to feed the sun. The Spanish were horrified, but also mesmerized. And from that collision, a new people were born, half European, half indigenous. The mestizo identity. It's a people carrying both the brilliance and brutality of their ancestors. And if we fast forward now 400 years, we arrive at World War II. And America needed morphine. So in Mexico's Sierra Madre Mountains, farmers began growing poppies. When the war ended, demand didn't. By the 1950s, Mexico was producing over 100 tons of opium a year. Then came the Vietnam War, and heroin addiction exploded among U.S. troops. When those soldiers came home, they brought their addictions with them. And with that, an industry was born. In the 1970s, the Guadalajara Cartel united the smuggling routes. When its leader was arrested in 1989, the empire then split into factions. And it's the Sinaloa, Tijuana, Juarez, and the Gulf. And each of these factions ruled its corridor. Each evolved into a shadow government. For 70 years, the PRI party ruled Mexico through corruption that felt normal. Then democracy arrived, and chaos just followed. In 2006, Mexico declared war on the cartels. 50,000 troops, billions in U.S. aid. But it was like kicking a beehive. Every time one head fell, two new ones rose. And by 2012, there were over 80 armed groups fighting across the country. Then came a new philosophy, abrazos no balazos. And I guess it's translated to hugs, not bullets. It sounded humane, but the violence just worsened. From 2018 to 2024, homicides jumped from 29,000 a year to over 50,000. More than 400,000 people have died in the past 2 decades of cartel violence. During the 2024 elections alone, more than 60 politicians were assassinated. Whole towns now live under cartel control because in many regions, the cartel is the government. In July 2024, something historic happened. Ismael, or El Mayo Zambada, the invisible founder of the Sinaloa Cartel, was arrested in Texas after a half a century on the run. He was 77 years old, and his arrest triggered civil war. Chapo Guzman's sons turned on their father's old ally. Schools closed and cities burned. By mid-2025, more than 1,000 people dead and thousands went missing. Luxury neighborhoods were shelled by 50 caliber rifles. It just was a war zone. And this wasn't just organized crime anymore. It was organized warfare. Then came the CJNG, the Jalisco New Generational Cartel, more modern and more militarized. And these guys, they recruit teenagers through TikTok and Telegram's advertisements, something like join the 4 letters. They run boot camps in the jungle, trained by ex-soldiers from Mexico, Colombia, and even a few Americans. And they build homemade tanks from pickup trucks. They even use drones to drop grenades. And they live stream gunfights like it's entertainment. And their leader, El Mencho, is one of the most wanted men on the planet. A ghost leading an army that now controls roughly a third of all Mexico's murderers. Cartels today aren't just about drugs. They're diversified, just like corporations. Fuel theft brings in over $3 billion a year. Avocado extortion in the Michoacan has killed over 1,200 people. Human smuggling, another $13 billion business. It's unbelievable, but behind every crime, we know there's a victim, a family destroyed, a community living in fear. And yet, as long as the demand exists, and as long as someone wants to get high, the system stays alive. Across Mexico, there are now more than 125,000 people officially missing. Many will never be found. In Coahuila, bodies are boiled in acid vats. In Tijuana, this guy named El Pozolero, he dissolved more than 300 victims. No evidence, no trace. And in the fields, you'll find mothers digging with shovels, searching for the remains of their children. It's just horrific. It's a silent, daily tragedy, one that barely makes the headlines anymore. The poppy fields, they're fading, but they're being replaced by laboratories. And enter fentanyl. Fentanyl is the new gold. With just a few precursor chemicals needed to make this stuff, mainly imported from China, a small lab can produce millions of deadly doses. In 2025 alone, authorities seized more than 300,000 kilos of these precursors. The result? Over 100,000 overdose deaths each year in the United States. And that's more than died in the entire Vietnam War. And yet, the same governments that fight this crisis have also in the past fueled it with weapons, covert deals, and silence. It's not just a Mexican problem. It's global. Between 2021 and 2025, more than 8 million migrants crossed the U.S.-Mexican border. And those crossings, they're not free. Every person who steps onto that trail, he pays a fee. It's just a so-called tax to the cartel controlling that route. It's not a government tax. It's plain and simple extortion. the price of passage. If you don't pay, you don't move. If you try to cross without permission, you risk being robbed, kidnapped, or worse. In cartel territory, nothing moves for free. Every step, every river crossing, every bus ride, it's all taxed. And that turns human desperation into one of the cartel's most profitable businesses. Many deportees grew up in the US, speaking English and living American lives. Then suddenly they're dropped in Mexico, a country they might barely remember. They don't speak fluent Spanish. They don't have family. They don't know how to survive. It's not just losing a home. It's losing who you are. That's not just economic pain that they're facing. It's an identity crisis. There's no way they can make it. They're strangers in their supposed homeland. It's a fact of modern life. Many people today are addicts. They're addicted to substances, to escape, to numbing the pain of the world we live in. And where there's demand, there will always be someone ready to profit. And let's just look at the numbers. I mean, they're staggering. According to the Global Crime Research, and this is the world's largest illicit markets generator, have these staggering money lists. So every year, counterfeiting up to 1.13 trillion, drug trafficking up to $652 billion, human trafficking $150 billion, and illegal logging about $157 billion. We're talking about astronomical sums of money. And yes, there are a lot of interests, both in the government and in the private sector, that want a piece of this untaxed profit. And together, these black markets rival the GDP of entire nations. That's the kind of money that moves armies and corrupts governments and destroys communities. So when we talk about cartels, we're not just talking about Mexico. We're talking about global economy, a dark mirror of the legitimate one, built on the same profit motive, just without ethics or any limits. There's a fentanyl epidemic destroying lives, tens of thousands gone. And yes, we can just blame the cartels. It's all their fault. But the truth, it goes much deeper. Many of these people never had real support. No stable families, no strong schools, no honest rehabilitation. Even rehab has become a business with many questionable outcomes. It's the same disease, just wearing different faces. Cartel is only the symptom. The cause is a world addicted to money and indifferent to suffering. Families need support and people need purpose. When jobs don't pay enough to feed a family, people will risk everything. That's how cartels recruit, through hunger, not ideology. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's demand, there's despair. And where those meet, you'll find organized crime waiting. I believe this problem has to be faced, not just with weapons, but with moral courage. Because this trade isn't only poisoning our people, it's infecting our institutions. We have to ask ourselves, it's just a basic question. Do we want to live in a world run by thugs, by cartels and corrupt leaders? Or do we still believe in that goodness can stand up for itself? Most people are good. Most people know right from wrong. And that, it gives me hope. Even if we can't control the global stage, we can still talk about it and debate. We can refuse to look away because silence and indifference, that's how evil spreads. So take a stand, even a small one. Speak and share. Ask questions. That's how societies change. So, from the death whistles of the Aztecs to the drones of the cartels, one truth remains. Power feeds on fear, but courage feeds on truth. And maybe, just maybe, if enough of us face these dark realities with open eyes, we can turn that scream of fear into a call for change. Thanks for listening. If you found value in this episode, please share it. We're going to grow by bringing light into the shadows together. Stay curious, aware, and stay human. Goodbye, everybody.